Satan has two ways to destroy your faith. One, pain. Two, pleasure. He can kill you either way. He can make you so painful you curse him, or so pleasurable you forget it. I think pleasure kills more people in this world, way more than pain. Way more. Have you ever heard anybody say, I got to know Jesus more deeply in the bright sunny days than I did any other day? You never heard anybody say that. What you hear every day of your life almost is, when the lights went out in my life, I found Jesus. When things got hard in my life, Jesus showed up. Your being here may be the very way He loves you. The very way He loves you. And it may be a curse on people outside that they have so much prosperity and freedom. Who shall separate us from the love of Christ? Now here they come. Shall tribulation, or distress, or persecution, or famine, or nakedness, or peril, or sword? As it is written, we are being killed all day long. No, in all these things we are more than conquerors. Not out of all those things we are more than conquerors. Satan has two ways to destroy your faith. One, pain. Two, pleasure. He can make you so painful you curse him, or so pleasurable you forget it.
Oh, let's go. Hey, everyone. This is Mark Ryan coming back at you with, I guess, another YouTube live stream. It's been months and months. I've been gone it's been probably a year now that I've been on vacation. It's been pretty nice. And really, why am I here today? Just to get caught up on what's going in the world, in the news. Things are changing very rapidly. If you haven't noticed, we have a new president now. We have Republicans win the Senate, the House, the GOP. They won the Supreme Court. They own everything. And so, we can all, breathe a sigh of relief that Kamala Harris isn't president. And an even bigger sigh of relief that they don't own all three or four, four branches of government, arguably, right? And so really I have 13 things that I really want to talk about. Most of them are related to the news, and the biggest ones on cultural Christianity is what I want to talk about, but that's the last thing that I've, on there. And really a comment by John Harris, hopefully we can get to it, who is kind of really pumped on the Trump win, and kind of bringing in the thought that maybe the gospel there doesn't always have to usher in a revival like through the church. Maybe you could have it culturally through political means too. But we'll hear it from his own video and get to it, because that's a big thing to talk about, I think. But the first thing I want to talk about is the 2030 census. I worked on the 2020 census. It was a mess. It was a dumpster fire. Why? Because you had the pandemic going on right during the census, and we could have had a major crisis in this nation. How California overcounted on their census, and so they got extra electoral votes on their census by like two or so. 1, 2, and then beyond that, Florida undercounted, Texas undercounted, which means Republicans, they were underrepresented in the Electoral College by at least three, I would think. And then Democrats were overrepresented by 2, 3, and so the 2030 census could get that all correct. But beyond that, if Republicans win the 2028 presidential election and they're in power again, then they'll really shape the 2030 census. You have a lot of people moving from blue states to red states. Well, what does that do? That blue states are going to lose electoral votes in 2030, and red states are going to gain electoral votes in 2030. Just book it. And how big the margin is will, kind of decide, what goes forward, and we'll find out how big that margin is in the next few years. Um, but I say that just because I tend to be very pessimistic. And in the comments section, let me know how optimistic or pessimistic you are with, this country right now, with the world, with how things are going. 10, you're the most optimistic person alive. 1, no, everything's going to crash and burn, in a couple days or maybe 5 seconds or so. Beard is back to its former glory. Yeah, my record for beard is it's like 3 years, and that was with like 1 or 2 sizable trims. Went to the barber, "Hey, I just want to trim." They took way too much off of it, and I go home just crying. Um, well, now you just don't trim, just ever, and, this has been, a year and 4 months, so we're going for all-time highs here pretty soon, right? And so the 2030 census, that has me a bit optimistic. And if you ever want to do something really fun, go sign up for the census. Um, and being part of the census, that's actually constitutional. It's part of the Constitution. It's actually worthwhile. But the government in the census tracks a lot of stuff. They know everything about everyone, where they live, down to the inch, probably. And they probably still know without the census too, right? But beyond that, days before President Trump was inaugurated, he released, eh, or his family released, a Trump meme coin with the fight on the meme coin and all that. And it went from a market cap of basically $0 valuation up to north of, I believe, $75 billion valuation for his meme coin in a matter of days, in a matter of just like that. And there are people that that make bank. There's two kinds of people in the world: those who made tons of money on Trump's meme coin that went to $75 billion. What do you call it? Not market cap, but diluted market cap valuation, something like that. And those who didn't, that's about it. And that brings up a pretty big question. What's the question? In the Constitution, a president cannot use their office to enrich themselves. And why would that be the case? Because that'd be corruption, and you just can't have that for any leader anywhere. So is it ethical? Is it moral, really, for a president to launch a meme coin? That's think about that for a moment. Because you could have really every president going forward launch meme coin and make billions just like that off that coin. Trump is his family, whoever, the Trump family that holds it, they hold 80% of the tokens. And it's not at, $75 billion, evaluation now. Now it's probably half that or so. But it could very well go and be the largest meme coin going forward. It could outdo Doge. Why? Because it's Trump, and the world revolves around Trump, right? Um, and so part of me says, that's enriching yourself by billions. And a president shouldn't be doing that kind of stuff. And then the other part of me says, well, he just spent probably hundreds of millions of dollars defending himself through lawfare from Democrats. And the other part of me is like, well, go for it. uh, you know, so that was pretty funny. And a lot of people just completely missed that going on in the news. And he did it the day after Gary Gensler, who was the head of the SEC, who, Trump said he'd fire. Gary Gensler has been going after crypto companies for the last 4 years and basically, making them go into oblivion. Trump comes off the scene, says he's going to make America the crypto capital of the world. Spoke at the Bitcoin conference, and crypto is a major reason, one of them, why Trump won in you could say in a landslide in this election, is because he really dug into supporting the crypto industry, which Democrats have basically been attacking and making go overseas. And so you've had a lot of that wealth. Um, crypto, the crypto industry and Bitcoin, it'll be about a $10 trillion industry. And right now it's what, 3 or 4 trillion or so. It's going to go way up there. And that's part of what we're really going to talk about today. One of the first things that President Trump did after being inaugurated, he met with just big people. He met with a billionaire from Japan. And initially, that billionaire said, "Hey, yeah, Bitcoin reached over $100,000. I started talking about Bitcoin here. I'm buying it 60,000, and it's went to 100,000." Larry Fink, the CEO of BlackRock. BlackRock is one of the powers behind the scene that just rules the world. He said, "Hey, it's going up to what 700, perhaps 500, 600, $700,000." Hey man, how's it been? Can you explain how meme coins work to my mom? Since I've gotten this on the TV in the living room right now. Yeah, I want to talk about some of these other things, and then we'll get into meme coins. But basically, I've made probably $10,000 on meme coins. I mean, you can make money off meme coins. But you have to be the first mover. You have to be the first. It's like the Ponzi scheme thing, to be honest. You have to be the first person holding the bags, and then it skyrockets, and you can't get attached to your meme coin. You got to sell it. And so what would you do if you wanted to buy a meme coin? What would you do? You would want to download like Robinhood or Kraken. There'll be KYC, which is know your customer, where you give them your social security number, different information and all that. And then you can buy Bitcoin, you can buy crypto, Ethereum, the Trump meme coin, stuff like that. And the goal is to buy low and sell high. Most people buy at the top and then sell once after it crashes. People don't understand. Oh, there we go. People don't understand Bitcoin isn't infinite. Its value is its rarity. Yeah, we're going to hopefully talk a lot about Bitcoin, like an hour, and then I have to go take someone to the dentist. But anyways, Donald Trump met with a Japanese billionaire, and that Japanese billionaire said months ago, "Hey, we want to invest $100 billion into America and into jobs and companies there." And Trump came and said, only 100 billion. Why don't you do 200 billion? And he said, "Okay, well, we'll try, Mr. President." Well, then he came back after talking to Trump, yesterday, the day before, and said, "Hey, we're not going to do 100 billion. We're not going to do 200 billion. Let's do $500 billion into America," which is just mind blowing. And so, and if that's all you knew, that would be mind blowing enough. And Trump's trying to get Saudi Arabia now to invest $1 trillion into America. And that's something worth diving more into. But the Japanese billionaire, can't pronounce his name, so I'm not going to try to. What are these jobs going to surround? AI. They are AI jobs. And they've already built, my understanding would be, a place in Texas, and a lot of these jobs, or the HQ, I believe, will be in Texas. That's not shocking. In fact, I bet you, it's really funny. I bet you probably 100%, except for some of them will probably go to California. The bulk of it will go to red states. And that's just the day and age that we live in. But the $500 billion investment is going to go into AI. And if you had to just uncover more of what that means, the future of AI in America, it's very interesting. And we're going to talk a little bit more about it, because Trump met with a lot of sketchy people his first days. He had all the CEOs there. Tim Cook was at the inauguration. Jeff Bezos, the head guy of Google, was there. The head, all your heads of anything that matters. The CEO of TikTok was at Trump's inauguration. People that you thought, Trump didn't like, and that didn't like Trump. They were all at the inauguration, probably had to go and offer their incense to kind of to worship or whatever you want to call it, Trump. Um, so that's a big thing. $500 billion into the AI industry essentially is going to come into America from one company in the next 4 years, is the goal. We'll see if that actually materializes. Uh, and so beyond that, let's just talk about Sam Altman. He had a fight with Elon Musk a while ago. Um, and they're both, on the frontier of AI. Uh, Sam Altman would be with OpenAI, and OpenAI has been, oh, what's the word I'm looking for? Criticized for some really sketchy practices there. But that has ties to WorldCoin, and WorldCoin would be a crypto coin that uses biometrics. It scans a person's retina and creates a unique digital ID for that person. Um, and part of its purpose when it was founded was for UBI. And so you have Donald Trump meeting with this kind of stuff that's going on right now, which is really concerning, like very concerning. If you think that Donald Trump was elected, by the people to overthrow the deep state, and he's got your back, he's your best friend, and he's got your back. He was selected. He's been selected by the powers that be. And if he doesn't get there, then they've got a dozen other puppets that can do their building as well. Uh, Travis Arnett says, we're not as far along AI wise as people believe. Lithium is also a big thing recently. Cool stuff you're talking about. Yeah. This is really called the future, but I mean, it's these next 4 years are really going to be crazy. And, you know, Michael Saylor is a genius. And when he talks, it's very interesting stuff. But you know what, 200 years ago in the 1800s, you had your gold rush, and so you had people just rushing out to the West Coast. And at first you could just pick gold off the streets, I believe is what Michael Saylor said. And it was easy, you could get rich easy kind of thing. You just go over there, there's gold everywhere, you pick it off the streets, and you have it instantly. Well, eventually that age is over, and then you have to dig and you have to work and you have to exert some effort to get that gold. Um, and we're right now between in the transition there. With Bitcoin, there was a um, for a while. Hey, you pick it up, you grab some, you make money, a lot of money, really quickly. Um, and now we're going to the period where that gold rush is over. Now it takes more work and everything. And crypto is making a lot of people a lot of money. Go look up real world assets and what is really on around the corner. Um, our banking system is using old technology right now, and the future is crypto. And with Trump and the people that he's put in the power, um, the financial rails is changing very quickly into crypto technology, which is maybe a good thing, maybe a bad thing. uh, if you're, an American right now, you're losing about 14% of your wealth um, every year through inflation. And you turn on the news, they tell you it's 3%. It ain't no 3%. It's more like 14% when you do the math. I was looking at the paper just today. I should bring up my phone, and was talking about the median price of a house, in Montana. I think it's 2016 or 2018, it was 266,000, something like that. Well, now it's over 500,000. Well, why is that? Is it because houses are so much valuable? No, it's because, overwhelmingly because, the dollar has lost its value um, by at least, I would say, 14% a year. Um, and I've talked about it before on the channel. Albert Einstein called the The eighth wonder of the world was what compound interest. Well, right now, what we have in this nation that Trump is against, and Biden was against, but it's compound inflation. Um, and one of the first things you learn in finance when you take, what Larry Burkett's Financial Freedom or Dave Ramsey or whatever, and they'll say, you save $2,000 a year from the time that you're 12 to 18 and you'll retire a millionaire, things like that. Well, and why is that? Because of compound interest, because of investment or money markets, whatever the thing is, right? Well, now we're facing the opposite of that. We're facing compound inflation of 14%. Um, and in America, our currency is a lot more stable than third world nations. They're facing um, inflation far worse than we are. It's been far more devastating to people in third world nations. Um, and the last several months, I've been listening to a lot more economic things, a lot more podcasts on the economy, finances, and all that. And I just find it very fascinating. And that's what this podcast is more geared towards. More on that, less on theology, though I do want to get into some theology here very soon, if I can get there. And actually, we're probably sooner than you think. But beyond that, so WorldCoin, that's concerning. Where WorldCoin again scans your retina, gives everyone a unique user, a digital ID, basically, for everyone in the world, essentially, and their goal is UBI, or their purpose is UBI. And it was in the news because originally, hey, you do it, you sign up, and WorldCoin will give you some of their coin for free or whatever, just by signing up and by giving your retina scan. Would you do that? Kind of thing. And I guess they advertise it as a privacy coin because you don't have to make up all these passwords. You don't have to give them your name and stuff. It's based off your retina scan stuff. But beyond that, if you follow Elon Musk, what he's doing with robots, what the Optimus robot, you've got probably 5,000, maybe 10,000 coming out this year. Then next year you have 50,000. And then the year by 2027, there could be 1 million, 500,000 to 1 million robots, AI robots, that what they could serve as a bartender. They're just going to get smarter and smarter. They could probably fold your laundry, vacuum. They could do a lot of things. And it'll be very interesting to see how that materializes. As right now, there's a Cold War between America and China. We talked a little bit about, I'm not an expert by any means on this stuff, but China's winning the war on drone technology. They are kicking our butts on that. They're more advanced on that. They have drones now that they're solar powered. They never have to land ever. Eventually they have to land, but they're solar powered. So they go very long periods without landing, which is kind of cool. We have that same technology. I'm sure China has it. But China is kicking our butts on that technology. We're winning the Cold War on the AI chips. And NVIDIA is mass producing the best chips out there. The new ones come out, I believe, this quarter, very soon. And your companies like Microsoft and Tesla and Meta, all the ones that are trying to win the race with AI, they are ordering thousands and 100,000 of these chips. And so there's an AI race. Why? AI it's kind of like the nuclear bomb of the future. I mean, whoever wins the AI race wins the next nuclear bomb, kind of thing. Because AI could be a weapon. It could also aid in economies, and a lot of good things could come out of that too. But you almost can't leave AI alone, because if your enemies, develop the technology before you do, then good luck, kind of thing. So you have 100 a million robots coming out by 2027. With Elon Musk, and he said before, hey, in the future, for every human there'll be 5 robots. It'll be kind of like, hey, everyone today has their iPhone, and maybe there's more iPhones than people. Probably is, right? It takes 9 months to make a person. Takes how long to make an iPhone? Probably not that long. But eventually, everyone will own their own robot, and that robot will be able to do who knows what kind of stuff. A robot may do your taxes for you. That'd be nice, wouldn't it? And we've talked about on the channel before how there are restaurants now that are completely automated from start to finish. Uh, yeah, voice actors. It could do that. A lot of people in Hollywood are afraid they'll lose their job to what? To AI. Why? Because you can have AI do the thing. They won't form a union against you. They don't need health insurance, sick pay, vacation, any of that stuff. Make a lot more money off the AI. And actually, AI will be able to do someone's job far better than they could ever do it. And at first you'd say, no, it wouldn't. No, it will. One of the things that Elon Musk has done and others is they have scoured all the information, the public information that's ever been on the internet in the history of mankind, on Twitter, on Facebook, YouTube, anywhere they can get their hands off on it. And they've had AI scour it and learn off of it, and all that too. Did you vote this election? Pardon the rudeness. Also, channel's been rather quiet the past few months. Yeah, it hasn't existed, the past few months, right? I did vote the election, so yes, I did. Yep, I vote every election. Beyond that, Trump was talking today. He's talking about tariffs. He's threatening tariffs for what? Canada, for tariffs on Mexico, tariffs on probably China for sure. And if you kind of look at what's going on, it sounds like there'll be tariffs placed on China. This is something that could be very impactful the next 4 years. Is if Trump puts tariffs on China, China will probably respond and put tariffs on America, but that'd be very inflationary. So we could actually see a lot of inflation here soon. We could also see a lot of manufacturing leave China and come back to America. And you could use AI to make that more less devastating, I guess you could call it. And so, you might see a golden age of, hey, manufacturing is coming back home to America. That's very realistic. And if you listen, I've listened to some billionaires who come on podcasts and say very interesting things. Actually, some of the most interesting things you hear on the internet is from billionaires. But yeah, it sounds like manufacturing's coming home. It's leaving China for sure. Maybe a bunch of it will come to India, maybe Mexico, maybe America. But then, AI eventually will replace a lot of people in their jobs. And people have been talking about that for a long time, but now you could probably start to see it materialize, as well. TikTok, of course, Montana months ago, I think we were the first state to ban TikTok. Oh yeah. I used to, we used to have a weekly show. Used to be every week I was on, but it's been a while, for sure. So Montana, we banned TikTok here in the state, be so that your Apple, Google, stuff like that wouldn't be able to, you couldn't download the app from them, if I understand it right. It went all the way to Supreme Court. They upheld it 9-0 and said, we uphold that ban. Why? National security reasons. And part of how I've had that explained to me is that if you download the TikTok app, it gets permission for like your email address. It gets just insane permissions. It gets permission to know every keystroke that you make on your phone, so it can learn all your passwords. If you have things worthy of blackmailing, TikTok knows about it. If you're making plans to have an affair or sending inappropriate photos or doing XYZ thing, TikTok knows about it. If it's going on your phone, then they will tell China basically, and they'll have all this information on Americans, on even teenage Americans, and they could be blackmailed when they when they're in office. So, supposedly that is why it was a major national security risk, which makes tons of sense to me. But then again, YouTube, Facebook, all the government, they're watching everything you say and do, and so China can't do it, but America does it. They're the only one that can do it, if that makes sense. It shouldn't be in the government sector at all. The private sector, though, is another matter. Yeah, Trump was talking about the US government buying TikTok. That seems crazy to me. As a limited government guy, that seems like an absolutely no to me. About the Japanese billionaire guy, Masayoshi Son, probably one of the biggest telecom electronics tycoon in the whole of Japan monopoly level, also is actually of immigrant descent in Japan. Yeah, I'm surprised you knew his name and everything. I looked it up, and he worked with Trump in the past, I think during his last administration, as well, investing. I think at that time is $50 billion. But this time it'll probably initially be $100 billion and then go from there, is what it sounds like. But again, in AI, there's a lot of money to be made in AI, and there's a race a race on who will have the most AI, advanced AI between, Microsoft, Tesla, Meta, um, Google, as well, with their Gemini, which was a a disaster, an absolute disaster when it came out. Um, who would you be rooting for if you're a Christian? I don't know. I mean, most evangelicals are probably written on Elon and Tesla. Is that a good thing? I'm more skeptical of it. Yeah, Japan is more technologically advanced, amazing considering the history of a nation that was nuked twice. Yeah, you know, eh, you look at their demographics in Japan, and their debt to GDP, and it's really bad. Um, as well, their aging demographics are among the worst, I think, in the world. And the world's getting really bad right now with their fertility rate, as well. Um, Beyond that, I find it really funny. Because I vote Republican. I vote it down ticket, except for president, because I just can't vote for. We're in Montana. Who's going to win president in Montana? Trump. I think he won by what, 20 points, 30 points. Was it 20 points? 30 points, probably. He won by a bunch, let's say. And so you just know he's going to win. And I just don't vote for him, knowing that he will win. But I don't think he meets the character qualifications to be president. Um, but there's been a downgrade over time, in the GOP. Um, and it's just so funny, and it's so easy to see. Trump was a lifelong Democrat, and he runs for president of the Republican Party, wins, right? And says a lot of conservative things, but is he a conservative at heart? No, he's not. Um, and then this time he brought with him a bunch of lifelong Democrats. Elon Musk, I believe, is a lifelong Democrat. Someone might have to fact me or, fact check me or do a community note or something on that statement. Lifelong Democrat Tulsi Gabbard, lifelong Democrat, RFK. There's a lot with this administration. Um, and so I call it the downgrade. You kind of have a lot of these lifelong Democrats taking over the Republican Party, and so it's not the same as it used to be. And I've never been a major George W. Bush supporter or Mitt Romney, and company by any means. But I do find that a little bit funny. The recent liberal mindset government in Japan is trying to push open borders subtly with covert registries en masse. Oh, really? That is interesting. I did not know that. Hmm. And you see what's going on in the EU. The EU is a dumpster fire. They are in rapid decline. Um, you have the G7 nations, which would be what America, what France and UK, a lot of European nations, probably Australia's in there or something, who knows. And the G7 is supposed to be the most powerful, what, seven nations, great economies, and all that. Well, you have BRICS, and BRICS is kicking the G7's butt. A large part of that is just over regulation. It's the EU being the EU, and the EU is, they're committing suicide on themselves. Um, they're in rapid decline. And BRICS is kicking G7's butt, but we'll keep going on. Um, you know, second thought, in Republican's second term, you rarely, if ever, dare I say never, you never see them be more conservative their second term. If anything, they're more conservative their first term, and the second term there's more of a liberal pivot. And I would dare to say we've already seen that with Trump. We've seen it with him saying, "Hey, we need to be able to murder past 16 weeks. You got to be able to murder and all that, your unborn children." Uh, so we've seen already, a liberal drift. Um, or downgrade so far with the second time running, even running with a bunch of Democrats as well. So that is something to keep your eye on, you know, is that liberal drift that happens to, happen the second year around. Keep your eye on it. And so you had Trump meeting with all these billionaires. One of and powerful people. One of the powerful people was Larry Ellison, who's Larry Ellison, the former CEO and founder of Oracle, which is very interesting. Oracle would be a kind of like a CIA project. He has ties to the CIA, very sketchy person. Everyone is losing their minds over it yesterday, actually, on social media. Um, Larry Ellison has videos where he's talking about mass surveillance, and that's where a lot of his expertise would be. In Trump's meeting with the guy who has ties with, hey, we're gonna have this CIA project on mass surveillance. We're basically in the future, they're gonna use AI to see everything that's going on in public, which is kind of scary. And there's been one of the shows on YouTube that I listen to a lot is Steve Leto, and he's been talking about cases like this going on where you will have you could have cameras on cars and cameras on drones and different things, and you can have a surveillance network built up in this entire zone over here. Well, what about your right to privacy and everything? Well, does it exist at all when you have this mass surveillance thing going on? Um, and so in the past, you listen to Larry Ellison, and he'll talk about there should never be a high speed chase again where cops are chasing criminals when their car, that should never happen again. Well, why? Because in the future, you should have like drones doing that instead of sending the cops after them in a car. You just send a drone after them, and they ain't escaping a drone. And so that's more the future of where we're headed. You could have an AI surveillance system where the AI picks up on, oh, hey, there's a crime going on at this certain place at this certain time with this certain person. And there could be biometrics involved. And they have everyone's biometrics. Every time you look at your phone, you use your Face ID thing. They got your biometrics. Um, so this mass surveillance thing will just use your biometrics, and AI could be involved in that too, which is scary to think about. It's 1984 is what's going on there. And with AI, they'll be able to identify certain crimes going on and notify what police officers or the chief or whoever and get it taken care of. Um, so it is times are changing, and we talked about it before. In the future, you could get in your Cybertruck, and if you are a criminal, a felon, get in your Cybertruck, which will probably or into a certain vehicle, it has cameras around and hey, it wants to know who's getting in kind of thing. Well, if you're a criminal and you get into it, all the doors lock and it just drives you down to the police station, right? Um, is that absurd to think of, or could something like that actually happen? That's what I want to know. Um, and one of the things more than anything, I'm just limited government. And I would love to see the government just grow less in scope and power. But with every administration, whether it is George W. Bush, even Reagan, Bill Clinton, Obama, Biden, Trump, the government grows with every administration. Just book it. It's growing with Trump's administration as well. Although you hear him talking about cutting the Department of Education, I was so happy. That'd be great. That'd be a wonderful thing. Um, but then beyond that, we really should be talking about Bitcoin. Everyone should be talking, I think, about Bitcoin. Um, and I know we've talked a little bit before. It was months ago. I believe you're out in Asia somewhere in that direction. Um, how much do they are they is where you're from familiar with crypto and Bitcoin and that kind of stuff? I'd be interested to know that. In my opinion, the Larry guy is lesser evil level. The guy is a Republican voter. Also, apparently bought a Hawaiian island to help preserve the native culture there. Yeah, Larry Ellison, people losing their minds because he's talking about AI, which can be used to detect cancer. Um, within blood because some of the cancer cells break off and float into the blood, and so AI could. We already have technology that could discover that. You can also do it using AI and probably make it cheaper. Probably probably fire a bunch of people, make it cheaper. But then he's also talking about mRNA vaccines as well. And you've got a lot of people, a lot of Americans who will lose their mind every time that you talk about um, mRNA vaccines, as they're, very sketchy, very untrustworthy on it. But he's talking about using mRNA vaccines against cancer to inoculate people against whatever particular cancer they would be susceptible to. Um, you know, and and so people who are more against that kind of thing have not been not been very happy with Trump or Larry Ellison as well. Yeah, it's so you've got that going on. Um, and let's talk about Bitcoin just for a moment. Hey, why is it the future? Why should people be talking about it? First off, if you need to know anything about Bitcoin, it should be there's 21 million Bitcoin. There'll never be any more. You can't wake up tomorrow and just print 50 or 10, you know, trillion or million or 10 Bitcoin. There's a hard limit. There'll never be any more than 21 million Bitcoin. Um, and so maybe 19 million are in supply right now, and then miners mine, I believe it's 400 or 350 Bitcoin every day, until all of the supply is released. Every 4 years there's a halving where the supply is cut in half that's released. And so we just had a halving about 240 days ago or so. And so, after 240 days of a halving, which is where we're at right now, you start to have a supply and demand crunch, and that causes the value or the cost of Bitcoin to go way up. And so Bitcoin, it's already went way up. Um, it, At the end of the bear cycle, it was at $15,000. Now it's at what, $105,000 or so. Um, and it'll go up to maybe 200,000. It'll probably crash to 90,000 or 80,000, something like that. Um, but so number two, hey, why is it a big deal? There's a halving. So again, we're gonna have a supply crunch. It's going way up. Um, Number three, Larry Fink, who is he, the CEO of BlackRock? He's one of the people that runs the role behind the scenes that no one knows about, right? One of the most powerful people in America, basically, with what, trillions of dollars of assets are under his kind of oversight. Um, he was talking about Bitcoin, and he's been trying to push it and get more and more people to buy it, or companies to be over in it, making it more mainstream. But he was having an interview, and he kind of sounded like a therapist. He kind of sounded like your best friend, and he was saying, there's a lot of people in this world who are just very concerned about inflation, and they're just very worried. And maybe Bitcoin is one of those things that can protect them from inflation, is what he was saying. Um, and and basically that's the truth. What's going on right now, these next 6 years, we're getting the rails to go off the old financial system onto the new system. Bitcoin is the foundation of that system, and all your other crypto is built on that foundation of Bitcoin. And eventually, maybe something will supplant Bitcoin. Maybe it'll be a central bank digital currency or something like that, and it'll be crypto. Um, and a central bank digital currency would be more authoritarian kind of thing. Um, but so that's number three. Why you should get Bitcoin is basically, like I was saying earlier. Um, if you're an American and you have $100,000 in the bank, it's losing 14% of its value every year. So if you have $100,000 in the bank, just wait a year. It has $84,000 worth of buying power, and then cut it by another 14%. Um, you know, our, I talk about all the time. Our church was looking to build a building, and before the pandemic, it would have cost, let's say, 1 million. But then after the pandemic, it's going to cost at least 2 million, is how it's going. Well, part of that supply and demand with the supply chains, right? But supply chains are, by and large, they're okay now, right? Well, hey, it's still twice the price. Well, what's happened? The inflation, the devaluation, the debasement, the dilution, the destruction of the American dollar is what's going on. And right now it's 14%, and it's just going to get worse than that for sure. The second biggest expense for the United States now is just interest on the national debt. Forget the national debt itself, just the interest on it is our second biggest expense. And so, because of what's been done in the past, and the government rejected the Tea Party movement, and a balanced budget, amendment, those two things got defeated. And so, what we see now going on in America is the wicked borrow, they do not repay. Our currency, our dollars being debased. And so, people who hold mm, their money, their wealth in paper cash and fiat cash, they're getting destroyed. They won't be middle class very long. And why? Because compound inflation would be the ninth wonder of the world. It'll just destroy everyone who holds their store of value in cash, we'll say. And so number four, why is Bitcoin going to skyrocket? The USA is talking about a Bitcoin reserve. The United States owns, I think it's 200,000 Bitcoin, just from stealing it, from taking it from criminals. So the United States government, people would say the largest criminal, stole a bunch of Bitcoin from the criminals. And so we have 200,000 that could be turned into a, Bitcoin reserve, maybe with an executive order. Some people would argue, or it might take a act of Congress. But we'll see very soon, as Miss Lummis, a senator from Wyoming, his promise to introduce a bill, a bipartisan bill, and he'll probably get bipartisan support from Republicans and Democrats to have a Bitcoin reserve. And that brings me to number 5. Hey, 10 reasons why Bitcoin's kind of the future. Number 5, you've got states. You have North Dakota, Texas, Florida, Wyoming, Pennsylvania. I think there's 13 states and counting. It just becomes more and more. They have legislation they're working on. Hopefully, if you're in their position and you think United States will have a Bitcoin reserve, then you want your state to do it first, basically. And so, so much of the state funds or revenue or money or whatever will be held in Bitcoin. Maybe it's 5%, maybe it's 10%, or whatever as well. And what states like Texas, California, they have some of the biggest economies of the world. What number of 5 or 10 biggest economy in the world, kind of thing. So that that'll make a supply crunch as well. Then you have your G7 nations. Hey, America has this Bitcoin reserve, strategic reserve. Hey, we need to do it too. Your G20 will do it. All your nations will fear into having Bitcoin as well. You've got your state pension funds, like what was it? Wisconsin announced, was it 100 million or so, millions of dollars of their state pensions. They're going to buy Bitcoin for that and hold that as their store value, instead of cash. Why? Because again, if you're holding cash, that's what poor people do, because it is a you might as well just take 14% of it every year and light it on fire and destroy it, because the government is breaking in and stealing 14% every year, and confiscating it from you. That's what's going on through their money printing, and debasement of the currency. But then very soon you'll have banks holding crypto. That is something that is there's SOB, what is it, 121, which the Biden administration weaponized against banks, against really crypto companies, saying, hey, you cannot hold crypto as an asset. Basically it's a liability, and so no bank in their right mind would hold crypto. Well, that'll be repealed, and so now if a bank holds Bitcoin, it can be seen as more of an asset than a liability, and so banks will be able to custody crypto and Bitcoin here very, very soon. After that's repealed, and after there'll be more regulations put in place very soon about it. And part of that would be over fair accounting. Under the old accounting rules, if I think a company or bank held, let's say Bitcoin or something, let's say they bought it at $10, it went all the way up to $100,000, and then it went to $50,000. Well, they would have to show that they had a $50,000 loss on that, whereas in reality, they basically had a $50,000 gain on that, because under the old rules, it takes your all-time high and everything's measured against your all-time high. Well, an all-time high lasts that long, and so you're always shown as losing money there. So there'll be more favorable rules for crypto, for Bitcoin here very soon. And right now we're talking about things that no one's talking about right now, I think, but very soon everyone and their grandma will be talking about crypto and Bitcoin and all these new technological financial developments that are happening in this country. And the 10th reason why folks buy Bitcoin again would be the Bitcoin cycle. Again, since 2008, America's had 4-year cycles. And so there's 2008 to 2012, and 3 of those years were bull years, and then you get a crash. You call it winter, spring, summer, fall, and winter always has a bear market crash. And so 2025 should be fairly good. You should have your bubbles form where you can make some of your most insane gains, and then everything will probably crash and burn in 2026 or the end of 2025. That's just my opinion, of what is going on right here. Um, but so that's what I think is going on in the world right now. We've talked a lot about more of the economics of things going on and less about the spiritual things going on. I'm not very optimistic on the spiritual state of America. I do want to bring in a video from John Harris that he made post inauguration, and we're probably not going to get to it. I have to go pick someone up, take him to the dentist here very soon. We might have 10 minutes. I'm going to bring this up though, and we will go from there. Let's see here real quick. Uh, oh, there we go. Oh yeah, you had Donald Trump's son, what I think Eric, saying Bitcoin's going to 1 million as well. Uh, and Donald Trump's family, if you've been watching them, they're very involved in crypto. They start World Liberty Financial, who's been buying crypto like crazy. And again, they launched a $75 billion valuated meme coin on crypto. That went from 0 to 75 billion, like that. And so they're very involved in this, and it's very interesting where this is going to take this nation in the next 4 years. And one last thing, Trump has pledged to make America the crypto capital of the world. If you've been watching him, and most Americans know, this much about crypto and Bitcoin and all that, but this is a really big deal. Why the Biden regime has been chasing this next generation technology out of America for 4 years. Through what? Through lawfare, through weaponization of the SEC, through not through acts of Congress, but through the bureaucracy, the rules and the regulations going on. But I want to show this video from John Harris real quick. So let me bring it up.
Hudson River.
Let's see. There we go. Okay, I'll start playing it now.
Sound you're hearing is ice. Those same things.
And the thing that I wanted to play was really, he's very bullish. I think would be a fair way to summarize it on the Trump election. And he made a statement more on cultural Christianity and this new administration, the new way that America is going. Well, maybe that could be revivalistic or something there. And I thought it's very interesting. We'll cut in. We have like 10 minutes and then I need to bring this to a close, but and I'll look at some comments here, maybe respond to them as well.
Things are also rejoicing today. So I know that at a certain level, they don't actually believe that. They actually do think.
Yeah, I didn't vote for Trump, but hey, I had a sigh of relief when he was elected. I was very, very, very happy that he was elected over, the alternative over Kamala Harris. Yeah, that's for sure.
That you can do some things, and there are worthwhile endeavors that can happen that it may just be using common sense or applying Christian morality to certain institutions and procedures and that kind of thing. And so there's room to chew gum and walk at the same time. We should be working on a bunch of things simultaneously and enjoying life too. I think there's plenty of room for that. But yes, working. We have a window. We have 4 years here at least to work on some things. And so I'm encouraged no matter what happens. I obviously want to see true revival. I pray for that kind of thing. But I'm looking at today and I'm saying this is a great opportunity, and I'm rejoicing. This is a good thing. And there's no reason to be down in the dumps because it's not everything that you want or it's not everything that could be and whatever. It's good. All right. It's good. And so I wanted to say that.
I was on mute. We might have to rewind it a little bit because before that, I want to hear it again. I think he makes the comment about earlier revivals being ushered in by the gospel. and making a comment towards, and I want to be fair and listen to him, but maybe that's not the case this time. Maybe it's through the Trump administration, basically. Um, and I hear that, and I'm kind of just blown away. Just whoa, oh my goodness. Could not disagree more, kind of thing. Um, so let's get back to that, because I want to see if what exactly he said again.
The thing I was thinking though was that, one of the things I imbibed when I was, I guess, in my teenage years, and I think many Christian conservatives have the same idea, is this notion that we can't have any improvement in anything, and especially like social and political life, without a national revival, without preachers leading the way, without churches leading the way. There is no hope, and you might as well just whatever. Like don't think it's going to last, right? But the thing is, like, revivals also don't last. Like you'll think about all the revivals that we talk about, even in American history, and look where we are. Like, the revivals don't change your social conditions forever. And think of the things you do in your own personal life. How often do you spend even just playing with your children, or going to work so you can provide, or making tasty foods because you enjoy them? Like, there's all kinds of things you do, as much as we should be for spreading the gospel and people being born again and being used by God in any way that he has with our spiritual gifts. There's all kinds of things we do to better our estate, to help our fellow man, that aren't that directly. And so I just think there are things, obviously, we can work on without having a national revival. And I think this is where some guys like freak out and want to say that, like, Christian nationalists.
I mean, honestly, I do freak out there. I freak out a ton there, John, because I mean, carnal men electing a carnal leader like Donald Trump, and I think we both agree he's carnal leader, and that carnal leader putting in Democrats, the carnal Democrat who's been a Democrat his entire life, is our leader now, and so now we're gonna have all this good thing. What a golden age happened, or I guess he wasn't saying it's going to bring about revival. But the argument would be, what, we can't have a restore of social order or something until we have a revival. That's the argument. And I've heard that argument. And why would you make that argument? Because regeneration exists. And generally speaking, the gospel is proclaimed. The Holy Spirit regenerates hearts. And then you have living people with the Spirit of God in them that produces life, kind of thing, produces like major worthwhile kind of change. Whereas, with Donald Trump, there's no revival going on, no spiritual revival, no regeneration of hearts. Donald Trump certainly does not hold to the exclusivity of the Lord Jesus Christ. And his administration, his coalition, are lifelong Democrats, carnal lifelong Democrats, and so a lot of times when 4 years ago, John Harris and I were seeing eye to eye on a lot of things. Dare I say everything, most things. But the older I've gotten, the more this last year, it's been less and less things. And one of those things would be, oh, hey, these carnal unregenerate men, they're going to bring about this great social change. I highly disagree with that. A lot of times, and we've got like 3 minutes and I got to go, if you want to bring about sweeping radical change in America, well, how do you do it? One way to do it, hey, just elect, Democrats, and have them bring in authoritarian stuff. That's one way to do it. Well, your GOP, your average American, isn't into authoritarianism, and you would have to bring them along, kicking and screaming against their will. So the other way you do it is that you grab their best friend and you bring in this authoritarian, you bring in whatever thing that you want through their best friend kind of thing. That's what I think Trump is. I think that, again, wasn't so much elected. He's selected by them to bring in Probably some mass surveillance. He'll bring in the new financial system for sure. That's already happening right now today. He's bringing in $500 billion AI company into America. There'll be some good to come out of that, and who knows what else will come out of that um, as well. But I mean, you could say, hey, he'll bring about mass surveillance. Well, we already have mass surveillance to some degree, but with AI, the mass surveillance is fixing to get even much larger in the future. But beyond that, John Harris, why would you trust carnal men with no biblical worldview to bring about some really good things? I mean, eh, at the end of the day, I do get it that Trump and that coalition will restrain the evil of the Democrat Party. Things could be a lot worse. They could be pushing for really the Equality Act, the criminalization basically of Christianity. Um, and we won't see that now, probably for at least 4 years, which is great. And if again Republicans win in 2028, and then the census goes like I think it'll go, it could be a long time. We could have a Republican majority for 2 decades, really. Um, which the pessimist in me says that'll never happen. But actually, it's very, it's pretty likely if things go their way in 2028. I'm skeptical that 2028 will be a year Republicans will win stuff, just because the 4-year cycles. But we'll see. But with that, I've got to go run some errands. Maybe got a couple more minutes, maybe 5 actually. Um, yeah, the gospel is the power of God into salvation, nothing else. Yeah, and so to be fair to John Harris, he wasn't saying that what voting Trump in will bring about a revival. So that'd be me being unfair to him for sure. But bringing about great societal change, that can be done through electing carnal men like Donald Trump. That's part of his view. He'd say Mark, you're being unfair there, um, but I would just hold more thoroughly to no, you want societal change. You want something called regeneration. Um, and John Harris, it's weird for him to say those kind of things. It's almost like a denial that regeneration is a thing. No, it's not. Regeneration happens during the revival, and it is earth shattering kind of thing. Um, so we'll go read a couple more statements called a day. If by John's statement that confed ain't so bad. Yeah, and the older I get, the more disagreements I have with him over that thing as well. Um, there is a view that um, the South, the Confederates would have gotten rid of slavery. You should have given them some more time. Millions of people wouldn't have had to die in that. Wasn't millions. A lot of people wouldn't have had to die in the Civil War. There wouldn't be all that bloodshed. They just needed some more time. They would have peaceably ended slavery. That would be his view that he's communicated. And I've heard others communicate that as well, mostly, Southerners. I reject that completely. There's an abolitionist. Go watch, what would it be? I don't interact with abolitionists a ton. But your abolitionists would say no. God had given them decades and a century to repent of man stealing and selling other humans as slaves. And they refused to repent. And the Civil War was brought about as partially God's judgment against people who refused to repent. Um, so that would actually be closer to my view, is that America refused to repent of its sin of slavery, and there's a lot of bloodshed over it, essentially. Not that, just give it another 10, 20 years. Let them, they don't even need to repent today or immediately voting their sins. Give them a decade or two, and then go fix it. Um, But the statements on Abraham Lincoln, um, I do I do not think that he was a constitutional president by any means. I don't think Abraham Lincoln was a great president by any means. Um, he he kept the nation together. Well, maybe that'd be one thing, but he was you know, you get a lot more power in the government thanks to who? Abraham Lincoln, by far. Um, oh, there we go. Because this comment here, Lincoln is the biggest bad guy. Slavery, white nationalism is okay. Yeah. Not all revivals are legit. We just had the one. What was it even called? I can't remember. But yeah, since the Wolf's book kept indoctrinating him into weapons, mutation into religious mark. Yeah, I have not been following um the what Joel Webbin and company. I guess it'd be Joel, AD, and John are fairly, what would you call it? Not toe the line, but they're fairly united in their views on that. I think it'd be fair to say, and I have pretty different views. And when you watch Webbin's channel, part of it is absolute bullishness on voting for Trump. So if you're a Christian nationalist and even a theonomist, um, I find it very confusing how they could vote for uh, carnal men for Trump to lead their Christian nationalist movement. I find that irreconcilable. We'd have irreconcilable differences over that. So you're a Christian nationalist. I get it. You have uh, some good views and stuff, but it's just mind-boggling how you could take a carnal leader, who, and theonomists would say, hey, adultery, that deserves severe penalties. And you're going to take that and turn that into your leader, I guess. Somehow it doesn't make much sense to me. The gospel is the power of God unto salvation, nothing else. Let's see. Also, a lot of this religious nationalists tend to mock the biblical gospel as a meme, or say stuff like the Bible's not enough, gotta go into politics to fix it. Yeah, they would. There was a moment in time where they really went after pietism, really went after it. That's where, hey, Christianity, what's it about? It is about you and your relationship with Jesus Christ, primarily. And he would say things like, just preach the gospel. They would mock anyone who says, just preach the gospel. They would really hate when people say stuff like that, as well. And I say that because I hear them really coming against that as well. But to be fair to them, they would say some great things like, what, all of Christ for all of life. And so, Jesus Christ and his commands, his teachings need to impact every area of the Christian life. Hey, amen to that. People willingly mass surveillance themselves out of fear. That's why Ring cameras do so well. Yeah. Oh, Ring. And it's so weird you say that, because I've thought about getting a Ring. And then I come to my senses and like, why, why on earth would anyone get a Ring? What was it? There's been stories of Ring won't let you into your house because you said a slur or something like that. Right? A lot of fear mongering for a bunch of militant, masculine, religious guys. Yeah. I really have not been keeping track of what's been going on there. I know there's, with the reform movement, there's a lot more fighting than your other churches. To be honest, good or bad. Part of it's good, part of it's bad. But there's a lot more drama for sure. Do agree Trump is still ironically a bulwark against the tier of the Dems. Yeah, uh, it's kind of a pick your poison kind of thing. And no Christian on earth should ever vote Democrat, ever. Unless they change and they're not Democrats anymore, basically. Right? It's not either or, but a both and. Oh, let's see if there's anything else, and I will get going. Oh, yeah. Or just Christ as king, like we don't agree. Well, with that, I think we'll call it a day. This is a good live stream. I should start doing this more often. And again, probably next time be more theological. Maybe do a response video or something. Get back into the groove of things. But with that, guys, hit the like button on the way out, and I will see you in the next live stream.